Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This time we're looking at the Junker Ju87 G1 and G2 Stuker from Border Models. And it's in 1/35th scale. I think the target audience of this model is for armor modelers because plain guys don't go for 35th scale. And on this side of the box, we see pictures of the details of the kit. Very nice recessed details and rivets. And at the end, we have the front cover illustration and of course the name and the title of the model. And on this side of the box, there are recommended paints from Make and a couple of profile rendering of the plane, barcode and company logo. And while this end is the same as the other end. Now let's have a look what's inside the box. Well, it's packed with sprues, and the sprues are packed separately with plastic bag. There are quite a few of them, mainly large sprue that just jam into the big box. And then we have the instruction, the decal, a figure, and a small fret of photo-etch part. Now let's look at the instruction first. The cover of the instruction featured the main illustration of the box cover. And then in the inside page, we have a list of all the sprues and parts inside the kit. Construction starts with the engine. There are quite a few parts for the engines. So I think when it's finished, it should look pretty nice and detailed. We have the firewalls, the oil cooler, and then we have the front cowlings. Installation of the engine onto the cowling. In step 4, we start the assembly of the cockpit. We need to drill some holes on the fuselage. And then we complete the assembly of the fuselage by installing the cockpit. And then in step 6, we start the assembly of the wings. There are 2 versions with different wing tips. And the next is the assembly of the canopies, followed by tailplane and elevators. And then we have the assembly of the pilot's instrument panels, the gunner's canopy, and also the propeller and the spinner. And then we have the assembly of the cannons and also the landing gears, followed by installing them onto the main airframe. And then finally, we have a choice of 2 different canopies and also whether to install the armor plate or not. Then we come to the painting and decaling instruction for the 2 different versions. And finally, an advertisement on Border Models' new modeling tools. And that completes the instruction. Now let's look at the sprue. This is sprue A. It mainly contains the fuselage and the cowling. We can see the molding is really nice. It's really sharp and really crisp. The rivet details are really nicely done. But personally, I think the recessed panels are kind of thick, a bit overdone. And you can see the molding of the aileron balance are kind of thick. And the details on the cowlings are quite nice. And then here is the sprue B. It contains many of the wings. Again, other than the really thick recessed panel lines, the rest of the details are quite nice, and the molding is also very sharp. And there's no sign of flash or sink mark whatsoever. Oh, maybe there's a slight sink mark here, right around the landing light housing. And then sprue C contains mainly parts for the cockpit area. Here's the cockpit floor. And the seats for the rear gunner or the radio operator. Here's the firewall. And here is the tail and the elevator. The main bottom section of the wing. Again, very nicely detailed. Now on the belly, we can see some raised rivet, which is kind of strange, because the rest of the plane has recessed rivets. Just that little part are raised rivets. And the slide molding for the hollow machine gun barrel. I must say the details on the machine gun is not that great. Of course, there's the radios, nicely detailed. And a lot of other small parts for detailing up the cockpits. And here is the instrument panel. Control stick. And then we have the sprue D. And it's the mainly the parts for the engine. Here are all the parts for the engine block, the propellers, the spinner, and the front radiator intake, the mounting bracket for the engine, and also the exhaust. And it's arranged in an angle so that you can get the hollow exhaust from slide molding. And this one has a lot of detail mold on the other side of the sprue as well, which are clean and nice and sharp. And here is a shot for those who are really concerned about the shape of the propellers. And then we come to sprue E, which contains part for the cannons. This is the first tank killer, I think. It's like the father of A10, or the great-grandfather of A10. And then there's a bomb, not for this version. And then the tires feature the weighted depressions and the fairing of the landing gear. Quite nice. And then the housing for the radiator underneath the wings. And the wheels is separate from the tires, so it's much easier to paint. And of course, the barrel of the cannon is molded hollowed by using the slide molding method. And you can see the other side of the landing gear are molded without any ejection pin marks. And then sprue H, we have all the weight balance for the flaps and ailerons. And also all the hinges for the flaps and ailerons. Here are the fairing for the siren, but it doesn't feature the siren because this is not the dive bomber version. It's just the tank killer with the cannon and all the hinges. And then the other side also clear of any ejection marks for these parts. The antenna and the pitot tubes, and also the frame for the bomb, which does not feature on this version of the kit. And then lastly, we come to the clear parts. The two sprues are just stacked to one over each other in the plastic bag. But I think it's fine because the way it's stacked together, it prevents it from scratching. And you can see the clear parts are very clear and relatively smooth. Very little distortion. And this canopy featured the nice slide open small window. And here are other parts, other clear parts. Well, these small parts are not as smooth as they can be. Well, the round one is quite nice. The square ones is kind of, you can see from the reflection that it's not that smooth. But the canopies are nice. These are the alternative canopies, I think. And then we have the figure. Well, usually the wrinkles of the clothing are always overdone, not very authentic. It's good for painting, because if you cannot do regular shading with painting, you can just dry brush it and get a relatively nice result. The hands are nice though. And then we come to the small photo-etch fret. It has plastic cover on both sides, But as you can see, one of the plastic came loose. But the parts are all hold up to the frame with small gates, so it's okay. And then lastly, we have the decal. And there are 4 instrument panel decals. So if you screw up one, you have a second. You have a chance to screw up 3 times. And the white is quite solid. Registration is good. The yellow is kind of translucent. I will paint them if I build this kit. Okay, there you have it. The Junker Ju87 Stuker. The G1 and G2 version in 1/35 scale. I have to emphasize 35th to capture the armor guy's attention. Time to build a plane, you tank geeks. Anyway, it's a nice kit and can be built into the nice replica of the famous Stuker. Once again, I thanks Hobby Easy providing the sample for this Optivisor review. And thank you for watching. Until next time, bye bye.